Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Sea Cargo Charter 2026 Annual Disclosure Report. It is this year our fifth report. Welcome, everyone. My name is Emilie. I work at the Secretariat for the Sea Cargo Charter, and I will be moderating today's session. Today, we will be briefly talking over what the Sea Cargo Charter is and what is its methodology. You will hear some key takeaways from this year's report from our chair and vice chair of the association, which are James Lewis, Global Head of Operations at Cargill Ocean Transportation, as well as Engelbert Dam, CEO of Klaveness Combination Carriers. Following that, you will hear from three different signatories' perspective. Shivanesh Sundram, who's a manager, strategy and business development shipping at Anglo American, will go first, followed by Vrushali Mohit, chartering manager at Heidelberg Materials. And finally, you'll hear from Jed Belgaroui, advisor in low carbon ship technology at Equinor. The session will then be followed by a Q&A. So you are very free to ask your questions in the Q&A chat. And we will collect these answers and ask them to the speakers. This session is also recorded and may be published afterwards. And finally, we'll have some closing remarks. So if we start with a few words on the Sea Cargo Charter. What is it? Well, it is a voluntary disclosure framework that is aiming to accelerate the decarbonization of maritime transport. It has been existent since 2020, and it is aimed towards major charterers, major ship owners, whether on time of voyage charters, whether on dry bulk, chemical tankers, oil tankers, liquefied gas carriers, and so on, and for all vessels that are engaged in international trade. This framework is existing to enhance transparency and make sure that these considerations are considered into chartering decisions. As of today, as of June 2026, we are comprised of 32 signatories from quite different geographies and quite various segments too. So we have agricultural products, chemicals, oil and gas, energy, and so on and so forth. This report is the main public product of the association. And if you're ever wondering very quickly of what it is about, how are we reporting, what's the methodology, I'll just briefly introduce you to that. So as you are, I'm very sure, quite aware of, in 2023, the IMO published their greenhouse gas strategy, in which they are striving to become net zero by around 2050, with interim targets in 2030 and 2040, and having both a minimum ambition and a striving ambition. The Sea Cargo Charter has taken into account these IMO's greenhouse gas strategy and plotted decarbonization strategies following those, so having both a minimum and a striving trajectory. The way that then we report, that our signatories report, is based on a modified EEOI, Energy Efficiency Operational Indicator. It means that we look at the transport work per amount of cargo transported and per distance traveled. So how it works is that on a voyage level, we look at the actual emission intensity. We compare it to what is required to be aligned with the IMO. And this gives us the climate alignment score in percentage per voyage. We then aggregate this score per vessel category level, and then again at the entire portfolio level. And this climate alignment score at the portfolio level is what will be published specifically into the report. It can be graphically represented into a dot, also with historical data. A green dot means that the entire portfolio of a company's emissions is lower than that of required by the IMO. It means that it is aligned. And on the opposite side, a green dot means that the emission intensity of the activities is higher than required. And it means that it is misaligned. Okay, now that you are all caught up on what do we report on the Sea Cargo Charter. James Lewis will take us through what are the key takeaways from this year's report.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us. Thank you, Emily. This is my first opportunity to speak to or address the Sea Cargo Charter community as chairman, and I'm honoured to be taking on this role at what is such an important moment for both our organisation and the wider shipping industry. Just over 2 weeks ago, as Emily mentioned, we published the 5th Sea Cargo Charter Annual Disclosure Report. I think 5 years of reporting is a really important milestone. It demonstrates that transparency and collaboration have become embedded within our community, and that our signatories continue to believe that measuring performance is the first step towards improving it. Clearly, the environment today is very different from when the Sea Cargo Charter was launched in 2020. Momentum towards maritime decarbonisation certainly continues, but the pathway has become more complex. Policy developments have not always progressed as quickly as many of us had hoped. Geopolitical uncertainty has created additional challenges, and with the markets remaining volatile, investment decisions have become increasingly difficult. Yet despite this environment and this uncertainty, the commitment shown by our signatories has remained remarkably consistent, and that's why we believe voluntary initiatives like the Sea Cargo Charter matter. When the external environment is less predictable, initiatives like ours provide continuity. They provide a common methodology, a trusted framework, and a shared commitment to transparency that enables companies to continue moving forward together. I think every company represented in this report is sending a strong message that decarbonisation remains a business priority. Their commercial decisions influence emissions through the vessels they charter or operate, and while their willingness to report openly demonstrates leadership and helps strengthen confidence across the industry. Turning briefly to the results, and we continue to see some encouraging progress. This year's report includes data from 32 signatories, covering activities during 2025, and representing around 14% of global bulk cargo transported by sea. Perhaps the most encouraging message is that climate alignment scores have broadly stabilised, despite the increasingly stringent IMO trajectories and a more challenging operating environment. 20 of the 29 returning signatories improved their carbon emissions intensity compared with the previous year, and nearly half of the signatories are now within 10% of the IMO minimum trajectory. While there's still a lot of work to do, these results do demonstrate that companies continue to improve operational performance, even as the benchmarks become more demanding. Transparency remains a real strength of the Charter. Reporting quality continues to improve, with signatories covering around 91% of the eligible activities on average, and 13 organisations achieved complete reporting coverage, which is fantastic. I think one particular exciting development this year in the report is that we start to look beyond the numbers and explore some of the practical measures that signatories are implementing to reduce emissions, and you'll hear more of that a little bit later. So the findings show that operational improvements remain the most effective actions available today. Speed optimization, weather routing, performance monitoring, and vessel efficiency improvements are delivering measurable results. Clearly, alternative fuels such as biofuels are beginning to gain some traction, and technologies like wind-assisted propulsion continue to mature. Whilst we all know that the commercial realities make these sort of technologies difficult to justify today, a lot of companies are starting to make more and more experiments in these areas to prepare themselves for the future. So what we're talking about is practical actions being implemented today, not theoretical future solutions, and they demonstrate that progress is already happening across our membership. Of course, we realize operational improvements alone will not deliver net zero. Achieving the ambitions of the IMO will require innovation, supportive regulations, investment and collaboration across the entire maritime value chain. But this is why today's discussions are so valuable. Over the next 50 minutes or so, we'll hear directly from several of our signatories about the practical actions that they are taking, the lessons that they have learned, and how the Sea Cargo Charter is helping them make better decisions and drive continuous improvement. I hope that today's discussions leaves everyone with not only a clearer understanding of this year's results, but also confidence that even in uncertain times, meaningful progress is both possible and already underway. Thank you for joining us, and I look forward to the discussion. And now I'm going to pass over to the Vice Chair Engelbert, who will say a few words from his perspective and also talk a little bit about the future direction of the SCC. Thank you.
Thank you, James. I think you have covered it quite well so far. I just wanted to add a little bit about the process we have been through over the last year with respect to what is Sea Cargo Charter. And for you, those of you that joined the annual meeting, you have probably heard part of this before. We had a strategy process that started early part of this year. And there were basically 3 questions we asked the signatories. Has Sea Cargo a future given the changes we see around us? And if yes, shall Sea Cargo Charter move beyond the core tasks of data collection and reporting? And the third question, if it's yes on the first 2 questions, how shall we expand the focus? Which initiatives can bring value to the signatories that complement what Sea Cargo Charter's main tasks are? And I think I'm very happy to see that in this process, we got unanimous positive response from the signatories. Yes, Sea Cargo Charter has a future. It has a unique offering to the signatories. Yes, we would like the Sea Cargo Charter to move beyond reporting and transparency. And we looked into and we tested out what are the initiatives that would give signatories value. One is, again, as partly James mentioned, that there's a wealth of data in the signatories. There's a unique data set. And the idea is, can we use this better to give more value, deliver better benchmarks to tell what does good look like? The technical committee is working on this as we speak, and into the autumn there may be proposals, hopefully, to how we can move forward on that. The second initiative is the experience sharing, where members are stepping up, sharing their initiatives. It's no sales pitch, it's basically practical experience to issues and challenges. This we have looked into wind-assisted propulsion, have looked into biofuels, we looked into new ways of cooperation. And at this latter point, we believe there are potential among the signatories to test out and introduce new ways for charterers and owners to cooperate, to improve efficiency. And if it's successful, it could end out in some sort of a framework to how this can be done. So I think I'm convinced, and I think a lot of the people in the steering committee is convinced that Sea Cargo Charter, we are a unique group of forward-leaning charterers, operators, and ship owners with a unique set of experience. And I think it's the purpose is to use the data to drive actions, practical actions, as James were telling. This is not a conversation club, as I think someone could accuse some of other initiatives in the industry which goes to sustainability and decarbonization. So I think that is what I think we have the potential of creating with the support of the signatories, and I'm very optimistic that we can slowly get moving on that step by step over the coming years to create Sea Cargo Charter to be something that has the base in data collection and reporting and transparency, but adds valuable insights and experience to the signatories to move forward with decarbonization and be ready when politicians are ready to make the regulations that can defend new type of fuels in a larger scale. So I think that was my little summary of perhaps complementing a bit what James were introducing. And then over to you, Emily.
Thank you, Engelbert. Thank you, James, for giving us insight into what this year at the Sea Cargo Charter meant and what we were working on, what we were talking about. Thank you. I would now like us to move to hearing the signatories' perspective. And I would like us to start with the insights from Anglo-American. So Shivana Sundra, who, as I mentioned, is a manager in strategy and business development for shipping. Hi, Shiva. So Anglo-American has been a part of the Sea Cargo Charter from the very start. And over those years, we were wondering, how has your internal data collection process evolved? How has that maturing process fed into your wider governance, your day-to-day decision-making?
Thanks, Emily. Hi, everyone. Good morning, good evening. Shiva here from Anglo. Live and work in Singapore. So it's just after my dinner, it's about 7+. So there's a fairly chunky one, so break it down. I think the first part was around internal data collection. So I would say in a nutshell, it's probably gone from being pretty time consuming, say about 4 or 5 years ago, to being run pretty neatly today, almost parallel to your day-to-day work. We used to spend a lot of time reviewing the accuracy of the data that we collected, but we were also new to the data. I think let's not forget that, and so was the industry. So the responses that we used to receive at that time, they weren't always very accurate. But I think it's noteworthy that over the time, the industry has matured in this area and us along with it. And I think that also speaks to how the literacy of emissions data and gathering of the data has grown over the recent years. So I feel like we don't credit ourselves enough for this. Everyone along the data chain has become more carbon literate. So you talk about masters who never had to do it before, the service providers who support us, the owners, the charterers, brokers, everyone, right? And that's good. And that's something I think we take for granted. So I just wanted to kind of note that in this discussion. And that's something we don't have control over, right? So that's how the industry has matured. What we do have control over is our own processes. And yeah, what we have today is very different from what we had at the beginning. So there's like a full chain of events that happen. And I think you got to do what works for you. You got to be practical, you got to be pragmatic, don't do it for the sake of doing it. So we have some parts we have automated. Some parts we have partnered with partners in the industry, and then we've built checks and balances on data quality. So I think we have probably gone from having to review something on a line-by-line basis to studying the outputs of that. So typically what we do is we look at the data quarterly, then we try and understand why performance has been flat, or did we do better or worse in the last quarter, because you're already collecting it pretty often. Then maybe this is the last one for me on best practices. What we find works for us is we collect the data as soon as the voyage ends. So that's what, every 2 weeks we start to collect this data. And I find that helps because then you don't chalk things till the end. And I think year end is typically busy for everybody, all kinds of deliverables, targets, budgets, and all that. So I personally find that that's helpful and less stressful. Emily, your question was also on governance. And to that, I would say we are a mining company, Anglo-American. So the company does collect emissions data, scope 1, 2, 3, mining activities, mine sites, suppliers, power, and the like. So I think this process has really helped the company. So we are quite able to quite easily share our emissions data with group. So that helps us. And then in terms of decision making, having the data helps, but I'll be honest. At the end of the day, a lot of it also comes down to pricing of fuel optionality, and that's in the areas that we operate, where our ships go to, which ports we have access to. So we have, just for context, we are a mining company, so we operate dry bulk ships, so geared all the way up to Capes, and we have access to 11 LNG dual fuel vessels. So we always try to bunker LNG if it costs the same or equivalent or a little bit more in calorific value to fuel oil. So having that data helps us know where we are in the year. What else? Oh, there's also a lot that we can done with data that's not just to do with fuel. So because of the way EOI works, you want to be very optimal in the way you get your cargo to your customers. So we do work with some of our partners to reduce ballast leaks, and that increases the utilization of the vessel. And it's just good business sense as well. So I think, yeah, it all kind of ties in together, I guess. And as I said earlier, you've got to do what's practical for you. Sorry if it's a bit of a long-winded one.
No, that made a lot of sense. Thanks, Shiva. And looking back, what were your main reasons for joining the Sea Cargo Charter? Has there been any learnings, any benefits to being a signatory along the way?
Yeah, I mean, some of the main reasons for joining the charter was, I believe at the time, although there were many companies that were already either collecting or estimating emissions, there was no global standard at the time. So I think joining the charter helped to establish that global standard for shipping companies and partners in the industry, and also having that voluntary participation and disclosure. I think that gave the SCC the support it needed, right, to get started. That was one. And of course, the IMO's goals, I think now we're all quite familiar with it. And we're all quite familiar with calculating trajectories and where we're faring against that. But again, 5 years ago, not the easiest thing to do. So having that support system through the SCC, that's helpful. What's good about the SCC is that there's also a community that's been built, and signatories, or if you are thinking of joining the charter, you could tap on this community and learn best practices. So I would go as far as to say there's kind of an ecosystem in place. So you have the Sea Cargo Charter, obviously, underpinning that reporting process. You have signatories who are willing to spend their time and effort to provide these voluntary disclosures. Then you have solution providers who have ramped up quite quickly over the years. There are quite a few now who can help you monitor your or collect emissions data for you. Maybe that's again something we take granted for today. So there are quite a lot of solutions. And yeah, I think Sea Cargo has also helped create quite a bit of transparency in the industry. The IMO goals are there. At some point in time, we may as an industry decide that we have to take action. But I think it really starts, as James has said, to and figuring out where we are in that journey. And I think that transparency is probably quite key. Yep. So yeah, I think that's been our experience in joining and remaining with the Sea Cargo Charter thus far.
That makes a lot of sense. Thank you, Shiva. And for anyone that has a question, you can write those in the Q&A section of the webinar. Thank you so much.
Thanks all. Thank you.
We're now moving to hearing from Heidelberg Materials, and we have with us Roshali Mohit, who is a chartering manager. Hi, so this year Heidelberg Material reported 0.8% above the IMO's minimum trajectory and 8.1% above the striving trajectory. So it does mean that in 2025, your fleet performance sits just above the striving trajectory the IMO has set to reach net zero emissions by 2050. So it means that you are very closely aligned and not fully aligned yet. You have also managed to reduce your emission intensity year on year. That is quite impressive. Could you elaborate on the measures behind that reduction, on the improvement on your climate alignment score?
Yes, thank you, Emily. Hello, everybody. We are really happy to be here and sharing our experiences with Sea Cargo Charter. Our journey has been incredible for past 3-4 years. Still, when we started with our association with Sea Cargo Charter, as you know, that 2025 marks third year of reporting under Sea Cargo Charter. During the first year of reporting, we faced numerous challenges. Understanding what is this climate alignment score, emission intensity factor, and again we are big setup. Our offices are different, are placed across the globe. So individual people were collecting the data, and the data was consolidated, but it was not consolidated in a structured process. In the second year, we recognized that in spite of 100% of collection of data, only about 80% of data was eligible for reporting due to the gaps of completeness and the quality. This highlighted that the key challenge was not about availability of data, but ensuring that whatever data is collected must be complete in a consistent manner. This finding really prompted us that we need to strengthen our monitoring approach and improve our quality of data collection for 2025 reporting cycle. Through discussion with within the SCC and engagement with industrial partners, we recognize that importance of automation and real-time of verification is essential. So we thereby adopted a proactive approach by introducing digital tools, initiated data verification at the very beginning of each cycle, rather than waiting after the completion of voyage. These measures really improved our data quality, our reporting efficiency, and thereby improving our overall climate alignment score assessment. Our improvement in climate assessment score reflects more than just the numbers. It represents that the progress we have made in strengthening our reporting processes, enhancing the data quality, adopting a proactive approach in monitoring the emissions over the past 3 years have each reporting cycle has provided us a valuable insight that helped us continuously improving both our reporting capabilities and also understanding our performance with the climate alignment score. So this has been an incredible journey with SCC.
That sounds really impressive. And you've highlighted in your reporting that collaboration with other signatories from the Sea Cargo Charter was one of the key benefits for you, and especially in gaining industry insight, in improving your reporting process, your data management, and so on and so forth. Could you share an example maybe of how such collaboration has helped your organization?
Collaboration with SCC signatories has been insignificant in strengthening our reporting capabilities, and it also helped us to understand our climate, understanding of our climate assessment as well. In every SCC forum has provided us a very valuable insight, and it is beyond only emission reduction. It has always helped us showing that what are the best practices of data collection is being used by the fellow signatories, also how they are doing the validation process, emerging technologies, and how they are also, how the signatories are evolved and finding digital solutions as well. I remember in our second year of reporting, DNV was doing our validation process, and that really helped us to identify that we had a data quality gaps. And also they helped us to understand what were the expectations in the reporting cycles. Through SCC network, we have always shared our concern, being a voyage charterer and industrial, is that it's not very easy to track down the owners once the voyage is completed. So the historical data collection is a major challenge, I think, which is faced by the voyage charterers and the industrial players like us. So I think I remember that in one of the discussion within the forum, we highlighted our concerns, and we got a lot of inputs from all the fellow signatories that how they are doing it differently. And in one of these instances, we also got collaborated with, we got to know about Ocean Pass, which, helped us to understand, okay, fine, what are the core problems which we are facing? And they approached us, and then we discussed that these are the things which we require. And for 2025's reporting cycle, we collaborated with them. Throughout, of course, when they were validating the reports, they highlighted that the post-voyage correction was very difficult for voyage charters. So together we started, discussing and implementing the integrated process from the start of the voyage, so that anytime when there is a correction, it can be done on a real-time basis rather than waiting for the completion of voyage. Overall, I think the openness and the willingness of all the SCC members has been really instrumental. Their insights, their experiences, the sharing of the best practices have really significantly helped us to accelerate our learning curve. It has established a more robust and sustainable reporting framework for us. So we really are grateful to be part of this forum.
Great to hear. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
Now heading to our third and last signatory, we're going to hear from Equinor. Jed Belgaroui is an advisor in low carbon ship technology. Hi, Jed. So Equinor has established time-bound maritime decarbonization ambitions across both its role as a charterer, but also as a marine fuel supplier. Could you tell us a bit more about your plans and your progress in making sure you deliver these ambitions? And how is that reflected into the Sea Cargo Charter reporting?
Yes, for sure. Thanks for the question. So I must say I'm quite happy to be a part of this Q&A session to share a bit of what we have accomplished so far. And I think it's fair to answer the first part of your question by saying that we have established this maritime decarbonization ambitions within the company from 2025 down to 2050, which is basically to get to net zero GHG emissions, which is aligned with the IMO 2023 GHG strategy. And the way we have approached this ambition is to basically leverage on our dual role in this maritime value chain, because we are both provider of the fuel, we are selling and supplying the marine fuel to the market, but we also use that marine fuel in our chartered vessels. So on the chartering perspective, so we charter quite many oil tankers, LPG carriers, LNG and product tankers as well. And we have a strong focus on fleet renewal. We have this fleet renewal program where we are emphasizing on the energy efficiency and the new technologies on board those new vessels. And we are also trying to increase the share of dual fuel vessels that we have in the fleet. So right now we have vessels that are able to use LNG as a fuel, LPG as well, mostly for LPG carriers, and methanol, which are the new ones in the fleet. And we are also looking in a more long-term view on the ammonia fuel engines that will enter into our fleet more on the long term. So again, we continue to prioritize energy efficiency measures in our chartering strategy and vessel selection. And in terms of the provider side, so we are expanding the lower carbon fuel offering to the maritime sector. So right now we are already providing conventional fuels, bio blends, LNG, LPG, but also methanol as a fuel, because we're producing methanol and we can supply bio-certified methanol to the shipping market. So basically, this reflects our ambition in supporting the maritime decarbonization, both on the demand and the supply side. But we also are a strong believer in regulation that should help filling that cost gap we see with the uptake of lower carbon fuels. And frameworks such as EU ETS and Fuel EU Maritime, they really create this incentive for the switch and emission reduction and the acceleration of the uptake of lower carbon fuels. So in terms of how this is reflected in the Sea Cargo Charter result this year. So we can see that this year we have seen an improvement in our score compared to last year. So that's a positive sign, and we see that we are moving closer to the required trajectory. Thanks to the Sea Cargo Charter, we have been able to do some analysis and assess the different impacts that our decisions had on this improvement in the score. And we see basically that the main driver this year was around the optimized fleet utilization, both having longer voyages on larger vessels, but also on the shuttle tanker utilization. We see that we have quite a lot of shuttle tanker operating in the North Sea, loading from offshore installations. And those shuttle tankers that do quite a lot of short voyages. But this year we have seen quite a big improvement in how they are utilized. And of course, it directly impacted the emission intensity score and therefore the alignment. So that was quite positive. So yeah, basically, overall, I would say that the result is a combination of different things. It's the operational optimization on the short term, but on the long term, we see that there are some structural measures such as fleet development and fuel transition, which of course should be looked into.
Thank you, Jed. And second question, you very much highlighted the value of the Sea Cargo Charter's reporting framework and saying that it also facilitates some sort of cross-sector collaboration. Could you tell us a bit more about what roles this have played in your monitoring and in your management of your shipping's greenhouse gas emissions? And also, how much has this prepared for how you comply to the regulations?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think we it's fair to say that the Sea Cargo Charter has provided two aspects for us. The first one is preparedness, and the second one is learning. So when I'm talking about preparedness, we believe that the Sea Cargo Charter was an early mover in establishing this structured and transparent framework for shipping emissions reporting. And for us, it really helped to have this internal understanding on the methodology, on the data requirement, the reporting practices at a very early stage. I mean, we're talking about 2020. So it was all before the regulations that were put in place. And we believe that this work has really prepared us to be ready for the regulation we see that now. So through the Sea Cargo Charter, we have established this data collection system across all our chartered fleet, where we are basically getting noon reports populated into our system, and then it's aggregated per voyage leg, but also capturing not only the fuel consumption, but also the cargo information, the distance, because we need all those information to calculate this EEOI score and metric. But it's not only about the reporting aspect, but it's also using this to put into the contractual mechanism for data sharing and transparency between ship owners and us, which was really helpful. And another part of it on this whole reporting process, I think it also provided quite a good methodology and quality assurance. Because Sea Cargo Charter, I mean, we know that it provides quite a consistent and recognized framework, which we can also use in our external disclosure and in our annual reporting, for example. So it really gives us good confidence in the data through the verification process and really ensures consistency over time. In terms of the value added by the Sea Cargo Charter. We really believe that the metric, the EOI based approach, is really a good fit for our activity as a charter, because we think that it really reflects the emissions related to the cargo that we transport. And this is highly relevant for us because it really captures the footprint of the product that we move. So basically, I mean, we see that it's quite a good also connection, and it's really relevant for the commercial perspective, because emissions intensity, I mean, it contributes to the overall carbon footprint of the product we deliver. One other aspect, because I talked about the preparedness, but it's also about the learning and the learning opportunities around the Sea Cargo Charter. And I can really say that because I'm part also of the technical committee in the Sea Cargo Charter, and we have really fruitful conversations between the signatories around operational feedback and industry exchanges on different topics. So we had some sessions around operational efficiency measures, biofuel uptake, feedback and challenges around it, energy saving technologies with this mapping of all the different technologies that is included in this year's annual report, which is quite a nice achievement. And we also had the session on wind assisted propulsion, for example. And all this conversation, I mean, it's really kind of practical and experience based. And for us, it's really important because we need to exchange with other signatories and really understand what works and what doesn't work as well. And we are basically using this all this knowledge and all this value into our day-to-day practice when we are engaging into this fleet renewal development, new building specifications. We are basically using all that learning into this. So yeah, basically it provides transparency, benchmarking, preparedness for regulation, but also this nice collaborative and knowledge exchange approach.
Thank you so much, Jed. And thank you to all three speakers that shared their signatories' experiences, and thank you to the chair and vice chair before. If you do have some questions, feel free to ask them in the Q&A section. I see that we have had one question from Anna Jelensniak, asking, given that some shipping routes are significantly extended due to geopolitical factors beyond an operator's control, how are the situations considered? How are they addressed within the Sea Cargo Charter? Is this a question that James Engelbrecht, you would like to answer?
Well, I mean, I can make a brief comment. I think it's a good question. Obviously, we're seeing an extreme situation over the last few months in the Persian Gulf. I don't think we can avoid that. That obviously has a negative impact on the score. If you have ships stuck in that region and can't move, it's a bit unfortunate in the sense that some operational aspects of what we do in shipping are out of our control. We all know that, and that can impact the scores negatively or positively. So yes, it's a negative. I don't think there's been a discussion about trying to treat it any differently from any other sort of operational problem or impact that we have to face in shipping. It's something that I guess will come up in future discussions, and we hope that the situation will get better soon. We keep getting some false dawns on that. But yes, it is a negative, and it's it's not at this point. There's no consideration for trying to carve that out as something separate. It's part of shipping that we have to deal with. Maybe on the opposite side, there's been some reroutings, there's been some changes to trade flows, there's been some other elements of flexibility shown from operators and owners that may actually lead to better scores in other areas. So I think as a whole, we'd have to look at it as a whole, and not just as the ships that have been unfortunate enough to be stuck in that part of the world. But yes, that is a negative for the scores, particularly if you're impacted yourself.
And maybe from the Secretariat side, one answer would be that the way that we report all the signatories' experiences and all their emission is that we also include in the analysis of the results section, we include also within the first part of a report some sort of indication of what are the external conditions, what has happened in the general landscape. Are there any regulatory delays? Are there any geopolitical disruptions, and so on and so forth? Having said that, the methodology that we have is that we report on a voyage basis, and signatories can also give more insight in their individual pages, qualitatively explaining what has happened that could explain these results. But overall, we are a transparency initiative, and we want to be able to reflect what is actually happening. Okay. Another question maybe is, what do you think will be the biggest challenge ahead? Maybe in terms of transparency, in terms of emissions reporting, in terms of emissions reductions. And again, maybe this is a question that James or Engelbert could take on.
Engelbert, do you want to jump on that? I'll jump off the back of you.
Yeah, and I think, it goes, I think James mentioned as well. I mean, there's just so much you can achieve on efficiency, and there's quite a bit you can achieve. But of course, I think the biggest challenge for all of us is, of course, the energy transition. And some of our signatories have moved forward with some initiatives. But as we also heard, that even if you have an LNG dual fuel vessel, you optimize the use of the fuel depending on cost. And that's the commercial realities I think we all are in. I mean, we have to be open on that there's a limit to how much extra cost you can put on. But again, a lot of the initiatives we do individually and together, it's profitable or have a marginal cost to implement. So I think that is, we could do a lot, but I think the energy transition is a tough one.
Yeah, absolutely. To go on the back of that, I mean, I think it's the same, and we've been very active here at Cargill over the last few years for testing lots of different technologies. Obviously, we've taken delivery of some methanol dual fuel vessels as well, but ultimately the decision of what fuel you're using is driven by the commercial reality. So whilst we will test some green methanol, and we have done, ultimately we're all here to continue to be a successful business. So until something changes, we have to take a practical view, and as Engelbert said, it's the commercial realities that really are driving it. But the more we can test, the more we can investigate, we'll be in a better position in the future to make a sort of more substantial change when the regulatory impacts do occur, which I'm sure they will, whether that's on a more regional basis or hopefully more on a global.
Thank you. Oh, and sorry, Shiva, you were about to add something.
Yeah, I was just going to say that in this current phase, things are becoming more fragmented. And I think our attention is being fought for by many different places. And so while it might be difficult today, I think it's like what James was saying, is kind of doing homework first. And there will be a day when the gears click into place, and therefore then you'll be ready to go a little bit faster. And I would say that we were going at a certain kind of pace maybe a couple of years back, and now that pace has maybe slowed a little bit, so it might come back in a couple of years. And things will continue to fight for our attention. So we do what we can with the resources we have, is what I like to say. Yeah.
Thank you. Maybe another question would be, what would you say to other companies that are still hesitating to join the Chicago Charter today? Or what would be the strongest case for becoming a signatory today rather than waiting for regulations to settle?
I can go
Let's
first.
start on that one. Yes, go on, Shiva.
Oh, you have, maybe I would say that there's not much to lose and only things to gain. I do think it is a big leap of faith that I think many signatories have taken as well. It's not easy. Well, especially if you're maybe like a company where you are a shipping organization, but you're much part of a much larger organization. And I'm sure a lot of you would be able to relate to that as well. But I think there's a lot more to be gained and less to be lost, or if any at all. And I think the focus is more around the transparency and learning about the reporting and learning about climate alignment scores, and maybe even learning how to calculate these things, which take a bit of time because we all have our day-to-day tasks as well. So I think a community like this can be helpful. But yeah, might just take a leap of faith, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a number. I mean, I think as we said at the beginning, I think being part of this really demonstrates that your company, believes that the longer term, whether today and longer term decarbonization is an important priority, which I think is key. I think it's important that people show leadership. I think a second part is it's been interesting talking to some of the journalists recently, is that everyone's kind of trying to split, say you just focus on vessel performance now and decarb is somewhere in the future. I think what's key for everyone from a business perspective is efficiency equals, money, basically. And the more we can do today is not only improving the CO2 part of this equation, but is also just smart business sense. And I think when you get the opportunity to come into a group like this and collaborate with some real industry leaders and share data and see best practices, I think it's not only the right thing to do, but it's also a smart business decision. Because I think there's lots of opportunities where people can work together and share to improve what we're doing today and position yourself, like Shiva just said, like almost like homework for the future. So I think it's what I love coming into this quite afresh is it is a very practical, it is grounded in reality. It's not just people talking about the future, with sort of blinkers and saying, we can put wind sails on everything, we can burn LNG all the time. There's a practicality here. People are saying what's best practice, what's practical, and what makes business sense. And I think the opportunity to collaborate with this group is a fantastic thing. So yes, I think if that's a reason to do it now and not just wait for one day when you're sort of forced to be more transparent.
And just to add on the last words of James, I think there's no time to lose. Not because the effective regulations come tomorrow, but it is because we have all experienced that to get organizational learning, to build up internal competence, it takes time. I mean, it's a lot of trial and errors, and I think all of us have experienced that it takes years to get where many of us are today. So it's just getting started. I mean, no time to lose.
Very much agreed. Another question maybe is wondering, how do you use the data that you're reporting or the data that you're collecting for the Chicago Charter, this climate alignment scores, when engaging with clients? Is there a case for commercializing it in some way?
I may just comment. I think we are I think a lot of the methodology that the Sea Cargo Charter has established, we use it in some way or another to being transparent also with customers on individual routes and individual on performance. But also, I think it's also important to show also where are we compared to the trajectories of IMO, and which is a big challenge, but at least you can show over time that you are improving and are getting your emissions down. But so I think my answer is that not directly, but indirectly, you use what you learn in Sea Cargo Charter towards customers, and I think they appreciate the openness and the clear and concise, what we call, messaging.
I think when you're into commercializing it, your question is always a tricky one. But what's interesting is some of our customers are part of the Sea Cargo Charter, and some are considering it. I think for me in the future, I mean, it'll be table stakes, right? To be providing the most efficient, or the vessels and managing your fleet in the most efficient way. So I think it's more about the negative of not doing it in the future, as opposed to whether you're actually going to be selling premiums or whatever you want to call it. So I think customers are more and more expecting that and demanding, and I think that's only going to continue in the coming years. People will expect the ships to be of a certain quality and the operations to be of a certain quality, and they should do. And I think that's only going to get raised as we move forward. So I think it's it's the prudent thing to do, is to also be considering how you can run the most efficient fleet for your own perspective, but also for your customers.
Great. I see the time is running. Is there any final words from the panel today?
Well, I think we've said a lot in the questions, to be honest, Emily. Yeah, I was going to say, I think what the discussions are showing about how much sort of energy and focus is still in this area, even today with the geopolitical environment and the regulatory environment we've seen. I think it's fantastic to hear from the three stories some of the comments that are coming through about the SCC, about best practices, practical continuous improvement, collaboration. And I think it's clear that organizations like ourselves can play an important part in the future journey that we need to take. For me, it's just to say, look, I've really enjoyed working in the short time with the signatories, and I'm looking forward to further strengthening that over the next year. And for those who are not members, hopefully we've given some sort of persuasive argument for why it's a very interesting sort of club to come and join. But yeah, I think there's a lot of potential to do more, and we'll continue to be pushing to keep that journey going. Yeah, that's it really for me. I mean, finally, just like to thank you at the Secretariat for organising it today, and for all the hard work that you've done around the report. But that's it from me.
Yeah, Shiva here, maybe a quick one from me. I think just for me, it's community. I think we all have confidentiality that we need to maintain and uphold. But nonetheless, you can still achieve some good with disclosures and reporting. And there's a community behind all of this, so there are people to help each other out. I think just wanted to say that. So it's all a learning journey, I guess. Thank you.
Just to add on from my side as well, it has been a continuous learning journey for us over the past 3 years. We have already shared our experience, that how we started and how we are today. So I think it's a wonderful collaboration among the SCC signatories. We have, as James have highlighted, and even Shivesh has given us insight that how different we are, like industrial experts are here, and we have a pool of industrial experts, and the data sharing, the transparencies, every time we have a value addition, we know that there is somebody who can, we can approach and we can share our concerns, and together we try to grow and achieve our decarbonization goals. So it's, I think it's a perfect forum, and I would recommend definitely people to, start their journey as soon as possible. It's nothing to lose. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I would like to just give a few reflections as well from my side. I think it's again I value really the work that is done by the Chicago Charter and the collaboration aspect because I remember at the previous annual meeting where someone showed all the different industry collaborations in the maritime sector and how the Chicago Charter really stands out compared to the others, because it's really about sharing experience. It's much more practical, but it's also having in mind all the commercial challenges, and really I think it's a really relevant collaboration forum where we are all striving to the same direction. So I would say that it's a great community to join, and I would highly recommend it.
Great. Well, thank you to all who joined today's webinar. Thank you to James Lewis, thanks to Engelbert Dam, Shivanesh Sundram, Vushali Mohit, and Jed Belgari for being part of this panel, taking that experience of answering these questions too. Thank you so much. This recording will be published, and anyone can be free to reach out to the Secretariat if there is any questions, any comments, anything. Thank you so much.